So the op-ed I wrote today and published over at HartmannReport.com was titled "The GOP's Dark Death Plot to Win Elections." And basically, you know, I've been talking about this for some time on the air, but I wanted to put it down on paper so that, you know, people could read it and share it with others and just be very, very clear with it, that authoritarian Trump followers are actively promoting death and disease among Americans to win elections. And that kind of brutality and cynicism, in my opinion, is absolutely breathtaking. I talked yesterday in some detail about, you know, strategy number one that the Republicans have been employing since 1980, since Paul Weyrick's speech in that Dallas church about how I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by the majority of people, and they never have been. You know, our leverage in the elections goes up as the voting populace goes down. Okay, we talked about that yesterday. And Governor Ducey did that in Arizona, throwing 140,000 voters, including 30,000 Latinos, off the voting rolls. But the second and most evil part of their strategy, at least evil in the context of human life, you know, has to do with the coronavirus. And their logic goes something like this. Number one, convince enough Americans not to get vaccinated that the country never reaches herd immunity, and therefore President Joe Biden can never get the virus under control. Number one. Number two, the failure of Biden to control the virus will mean, like what happened to Trump, that the economy will not get back to full functioning either. Number three, as any first-year political science student can tell you, the biggest single variable in most elections is, especially federal elections, is the economy. So if Republicans can keep the economy off balance by keeping the virus circulating, they'll have a much better chance of winning elections in 2022 and 2024. All they have to do is run ads complaining about the Biden economy. And if they can crash the stock market in the process, they get double bonus points. I mean, this strategy has been aggressively supported by right-wing media. It's why about half the Republicans in the U.S. in the Congress, and mostly in the House of Representatives, refuse to say whether they're vaccinated or not. It's why Trump and Melania took their vaccines in secret when they were in the White House. Tucker Carlson, who refuses to tell us whether he's vaccinated or not, has been asking questions about people who died after getting vaccinated. Similar lies being pushed by Ron Johnson. People are not dying after they've been vaccinated. I mean, people die, and say, you know, across America it happens. People die after they eat mashed potatoes, not because of the mashed potatoes, but hey, you know, somebody dies on Thursday. What did they do on Tuesday? Oh, they had mashed potatoes. That must be the cause. Oh, they got their vaccine on Tuesday. No. And you've got these right-wingers and conspiracy nuts on radio, on television, across the internet, on Fox News, spreading these freakouts about the vaccine. You know, Bill Gates is putting tracking chips in them so he knows where you are all the time. Don't tell him about cell phones and GPS. mRNA vaccines are going to alter your DNA and turn you into a zombie. Right. Or a mutant. Or maybe make you a liberal. More than one Republican senator in the rants yesterday, I think, was trying to just produce a Fox-worthy clip, you know, as in worthy of being on Fox News, not Jeff, saying, well, we don't need vaccines, we're already immune, right? Well, Fauci already shot that one down. Even if you've already had the wild variant of COVID, you can still get the South African variant. And apparently you can still get the Indian variant because they share a lot of the same mutations. And you can still die from them, even if you've had the disease. The vaccines, on the other hand, give you a significant level of protection, not 100%, but a significant level of protection against these variants. And then you get this thing where Rand Paul yesterday was trying to promote this idea that somehow Fauci was involved in this program with the Chinese to create nasty weapon viruses years ago. What he's trying to do, what Rand Paul is trying to do, basically, is discredit Anthony Fauci and Joe Biden's entire public health team. Now, why would he want to do that? Because if you can keep the virus circulating, you can keep the economy soft. If you can keep the economy soft, then you get reelected. You heard, I mean, this was Julio's parting point yesterday. Stock market's going to crash. You mark my words. Well, yeah, stock markets go up and down. Is that going to drive the economy, though? Is the economy going to get better or worse? A lot of that is going to depend on whether or not we can deal with this virus. I mean, we're now down below 30,000 people a day getting infected. We're below 400 people a day dying. Compare that to when Trump was president, when we were getting 200,000 people a day infected and 3,000 people a day dying. I mean, no matter how hard Rand Paul and his Republican colleagues try, we're not going to get back to those terrible numbers, but they can if they can convince a large enough, chunk of Republican followers, of Fox News followers, of right-wing hate radio followers to be afraid of or skeptical of the vaccine. They can keep those people getting sick, dropping out of the workplace. They can keep other people afraid of going into workplaces or into retail venues where these mask holes might be hanging out, and they can keep the economy disrupted. And as long as they can keep the economy disrupted, they can use it as a wedge issue, and they can say, hey, what did Joe Biden do for you? Now, this morning we had Liz Cheney ousted. We're talking about that, and I know I've got a bunch of calls on that. We'll pick that up in just a second. And yesterday we saw this performance by Rand Paul, with Anthony Fauci and a few other Republicans, basically trying to promote this idea that there's something weird going on here. Don't trust the Biden public health team. Don't trust the vaccine. This is their sales pitch. And they're doing it to try to win elections, which is the most craven. Here's where you've got these two strategies. Number one, screw up the economy and screw up the administration to win with a disease that kills people to win the election. And number two, change the laws in those states where you have the ability to change the law so that you don't even have to count the votes of people who vote Democratic. So that in Georgia, they can look at Fulton County and say, there were 150,000 votes for the Democrats, but, we have some suspicions about those votes. So we're only going to count 60,000 of them, which, by the way, bingo, hey, means the Republicans are in charge now. The Confederacy is hanging on by its teeth. It has been fighting for its lost cause since the failure of Reconstruction with the Tilden Hayes election of 1876. When the political parties got together, the white people in the political parties got together and decided that they would stab black people in the back, both metaphorically, politically, and in some cases even literally, and end Reconstruction and cut the Confederates some slack. Just like the Republican Party today is cutting Donald Trump some slack. And, we didn't resolve the Confederate problem. In fact, we ended up with Confederate statues in the 1920s.